In the name of Allah, most beneficent, most merciful. Dear audience, this is Language and Linguistics Online. I am Dr. Khurram Shahzad from National University of Modern Languages, Islamabad. Since we are going to start our new semester, this semester I will be talking about sociolinguistics. In this regard, this is my first video. In today's video, I will be giving you different definitions of sociolinguistics. I have collected them from various books. Then I should be talking about some of the topics that we will be covering throughout this semester. Later on, I shall be talking about some of the social factors. These social factors are important because we should keep them in our mind when we are interacting with human beings. Secondly, as a researcher, we should remember that these factors, they influence the language, and sometimes language also influences these factors. So we should keep these factors in mind and we should try to analyze the data in terms of verbal or quantified data, so that we should analyze and we should reach certain conclusions. Sociolinguistics is the study of how language varies. Varies here means changes, and changes in social groups and contexts. So language is always spoken in social groups and context. Without context, there is no language. This is what I have already talked about, and you can watch those videos. It examines the relationship between language and society, exploring how social factors such as class, ethnicity, gender, age influence language use. This is the definition given by Janet Holmes in book An Introduction to Sociolinguistics. We should also remember that what is the difference between linguistics and sociolinguistics? Linguistics is the scientific study of language. So when we talk about scientific study of language, in linguistics, we specifically look at morphology. We specifically look at phonetics and phonology. We talk about syntax and semantics, pragmatics. But when we talk about sociolinguistics, we try to understand how language is making use of context in society. What are different social factors and how they are influencing the language. How language varies from context to context. How people vary the language when they change different participants. In this regard, we should also talk about microlinguistics and macrolinguistics. So in microlinguistics, we specifically look at linguistics, linguistic items, language items. We look at the verbs. We look at how syntax, semantics or pragmatics, they are performing their roles. How phonetics and phonology, they are performing their roles. On the other hand, when we talk about macrolinguistics, we are looking at the use of language in society. We are looking at how the language is influenced by the people. Because when I am using language with my friends, my accent will be different. My pronunciation will be different. My different kinds of syntactic structures that I am making use of them, they will be different. Same is the case if I am talking about an event with my mother, as the example given by Hudson or Janet Holmes. So they bring different kinds of examples of a student and of a mother. They are talking about an event and the language of the student, because right now the role of the student is of a son. So when the son is talking with his mother, the language is different, the pronunciation is different, the kind of vocabulary items that student is making use of, it is different. So maybe your formality, the level of formality, the relationship that you are enjoying with your mother, it is different. And the same student, when he is talking about a teacher in the principal's office, his language is different. So there the language will be formal. So there the student cannot use the word bastard, for example. But when he is talking about any person and when he is talking with his friend, so he may make use of this word bastard with him. Another definition of sociolinguistics is Sociolinguistics is the study of the complex relationship between language and society. It explains why we speak differently in different social contexts. And in this way, we identify the social functions of language and the ways it is used to convey social meaning. So, language is all about creating meaning. And meanings, they are created when two or more than two human beings, they are interacting with one another. It also studies how language varies or language varieties, they differ between groups separated by certain social variables. So what are those social variables? Ethnicity is one of them. Religion is another social variable. Status is another social variable. Gender, level of education, age, they are another social variables. So language changes when the status of the person changes. When you know you are talking with someone who is superior to you in status, your language will be different. When you know the level of education of the person, again your language will be different. So maybe at home you are making use of Punjabi, but when you come in the formal setting like university, like a college, so your language, when you are interacting with your teachers, it is different. And how creation and adherence to these rules is used to categorize individuals in social and socio-economic classes. You know, it is said that human beings, they are known by the language that they are speaking. So whenever I interact with my father and someone else comes in, so my father understands through their pronunciation, through their language, that what kind of people they are, from what strata of society they are coming, from what region they are coming. So it is only through their pronunciation, through their language, he knows that what kind of people you are. Recently, when I was in a foreign country, so I, with my father, we were shopping, and there we found some Pakistanis. They are working on different shops. So when they spoke with each other, my father came to know that where they belong to. So he said that you are from the central Punjab, and he came to know through their language. The language used by the participants is influenced by a number of social factors. So what are social factors? Holmes, while talking about social factors, gives us the following list. So he says that the participants, who is speaking to whom, what is the relationship between the participants, what is the setting, what is the context. So there is a social context. What is the topic? So the topic will determine that how you should interact with the other person. So sometimes you are talking about the economic situation of Pakistan. Sometimes you are talking about some religious perspective or some religious, topic you are discussing. So sometimes you are talking about keeping in mind the function that you are playing with the language. So why are people speaking? Where they are speaking? Why they are speaking? What is the relationship between the participants? So these are the social factors. What is the age of the participants? What is the status of the participants? What kind of social distance do they have? So these are the social dimensions. Holmes says a social distance scale is concerned with participants' relationship. So sometimes your relationship is formal, sometimes your relationship is informal, and sometimes your relationship is informal, but the event, the place where you are interacting, it will create a social relationship. It will create a formal relationship between you. So some friend who is now senior to me, when I am in his office, so my language will become formal when the other people are also sitting around. And when the other people are not sitting around, I may become informal with that person. So when I turn as an informal person, so my language will be different. My relationship will be different. So sometimes our formality, our status, they also act as social dimensions. A status scale is concerned with participants' relationship. A formality scale relates to the setting or type of interaction. Two functional scales relating to the purpose or topic of interaction. For example, Holmes has given us the scale. Now look at the solidarity social distance scale. Intimate relationship and distant relationship. So when your relationship is intimate, your language varies. It is different. When your relationship is distant, again your language, it varies. The status scale. Superior, subordinate. So when the relationship is of a superior and of a junior, so status will be high and low, language will be different. So in this way we can determine in sociolinguistics that how language it varies. It varies from person to person. It varies from context to context. And again, another dimension that Holmes adds is of formality scale. So formal and informal relationship. So these are the social factors that we should keep in our mind when we are discussing sociolinguistics. Now some of the other topics that we will be covering in sociolinguistics, they are gender discourse, the kind of gender that we will be talking about. For example, we will be talking about code switching and code mixing, the practice of shifting between two or more languages or dialects within a conversation. So code switching, and we will be talking about code mixing. We shall also be talking about diglossia, a situation where two distinct varieties of a language are used in different social contexts. For example, in Arabic-speaking countries, modern standard Arabic is used in formal settings. So recently I have been to Saudi Arabia. So I have seen while sitting in Masjid-e-Haram that when the Maulvi Sahab, the religious scholar, he was delivering a lecture, he was reading from paper. So when he was reading, the language that he was making use of, it was very standard. So he was making use of modern standard Arabic. And when these Arabic speaking people, they were sitting together and the situation was informal, so they were using a different social local dialect. We should also be talking about language and identity, because when we speak language, we make use of our identity, and identity can be determined through our language. So how language use reflects and constructs individual and group identities. So these are some of the topics that we will be covering later on in our other videos. In my today's video, I have talked about some of the definitions of sociolinguistics. I have differentiated between linguistics and sociolinguistics. I have talked about micro and macro levels of sociolinguistics, and I have also talked about some of the social dimensions and social factors of sociolinguistics. Thank you very much.